Hi there, everybody. I'm Mark Plunkett, the pastor of Heritage Presbyterian Church, and this is another of our weekly devotionals. When I was in seminary full time, my very first class was on the book of Job, and one of my favorite professors taught it, Dr. Seow at Princeton Seminary. And Dr. Seow told us on the first day, he said he was a Jobaholic. He had studied Job for years. He'd written books about Job. He's got one book that just covers half of Job that's already about this thick. That's just a wonderful book, goes into all kinds of detail. But Dr. Seow knew the book of Job like the back of his hand, and he did a wonderful job teaching us. There was a struggle, though, in the book of Job that has never really been straightened out for me, and Dr. Seow was not able to straighten it out either. And the problem is, Job is an upright, righteous man, does all the right things. And one day God and the devil talk about Job, and God is like, look at my servant Job, isn't he wonderful? And Satan basically says, take away everything from him and he'll curse your face. Well, God allows that to happen. Job has everything taken away from him, his family, his flocks, everything. He's covered in sores. He's basically sitting in the destruction of his house and his family and everything else, scraping himself with bits of pottery. Even his wife, who Dr. Seow referred to as Mrs. Job, even Mrs. Job says to him, curse God and die, you foolish man. And Job says to her, no, are we going to curse God when only the bad things happen? No. And he refuses. Job hangs in there. Even in his misery, he refuses to curse God. Then three of his friends show up, and they see the misery that he's going through, and they are so horrified by it, they sit with him, and they just can't stand it. They can't say anything. It's so horrible for, I believe, 7 days. I think that's how long it was. But then they start getting after Job. You must have done something. You did something, Job. Confess. What did you do? You did something. And boy, they pile on him, these three friends, and they just come after him. They come after him. For basically 38 chapters of this book, they just keep coming after him. Come on, Job. You did something. What did you do? Then a younger guy, who I don't think was really a friend of Job, just somebody who came along, Elihu, and he starts in on Job. Now look, I'm not as wise and wonderful as these guys, but you must have done something. You did something, Job. And Job just can't stand it. And so finally, after all these chapters, all these words of his friends, I kind of wonder if they're really his friends, coming after Job, Job finally just can't stand it, and he just pops, and he just says, I can't stand this. Come on, God, right now, come here. We're going to have it out. You and me, God, let's go. Because he's so tired of being picked on, by his friends who keep insisting he did something wrong when he didn't do anything wrong. And the horror of everything has perhaps overwhelmed him, or maybe he's just so sick and tired of everything, he just can't stand it anymore. And so, rather than crying, which is called lamenting in the Bible, which God certainly understands. I think God cries with us too when we cry. I think there's times when perhaps we shake our fist at God and say, why did this happen? Why did this happen? When terrible things happen, wars and sudden deaths and friends that are so wonderful that die slow, agonizing deaths, and we just go, God, I don't understand. I don't get it. So maybe in those times, maybe we get a little angry at God too. But a long time ago, I heard somebody tell me, God's a big boy. He can handle it. He can handle it when we shake our fist at him and say, I don't understand why. I've even heard people say to God, I don't love you anymore. And I know that later, when they're horrified by what they've said and they want to take it back, I know that it's a struggle for some of them. But in the book of Job, getting back to what was going on here, Job's basically calling God out. And then God answers. And God does not answer in a calm and calming way and loving way. No, listen to some of the things that God says. Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall declare to me. This is God talking to Job. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have any understanding. Who determines its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the heavenly beings shouted for joy? Who shut in the sea with doors when it burst from the womb? Who made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band? I mean, God goes on, basically asking Job, who are you to challenge me? Who are you to challenge me? So maybe the lesson in Job, maybe, kind of wonder what Dr. Seattle would think of this. Maybe the lesson in Job is it's okay to get mad when bad things happen. It's okay to hurt and scream and cry and even shake our fist at God. As long as we remember, God is a big boy, he can handle it. But, even in our pain, even in our grief, we need to remember that God is God and we are not. Terrible, horrible things happen to human beings. Horrible things that have no explanation, that can't possibly be anything other than from Satan. But shaking our fist at God and demanding that God give us an audience, demanding that God answer our questions right then and there, that goes beyond what we are allowed to do, even if we feel completely justified in asking. I think after Job got pushed as far as he did, I don't really blame him for answering the way he did. But after God had this harsh conversation with him, at the end of it, let me read what Job said. And boy, it went on for a while. I mean, God was chapter 38, chapter 39, chapter 40, chapter 41. And then in chapter 42, Job says, I know that you can do all things and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me which I did not know. Hear and I will speak. I will question you, and you can declare to me. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. Job went back to God and apologized, basically. And Job's life was restored. So the lesson here is you got to hang in there with God even when it's horrible. Even when it's horrible. And that's not an easy thing to do, is it? Think about it hard, Christians.